Now, since his death in November 2015, Jonah Lomu has continued to make headlines across the globe. Now, Lomu is a name that resonates with rugby fans worldwide. He was a force of nature on the field and a beloved member of the New Zealand All Blacks. Now, here in Aotearoa, a significant legal victory was won by his company Stylez last month over the trademarking of the Jonah Lomu name. Now, after his death, his wife Nadene found herself in a legal tug-of-war with Stylez over the rights to his name. Now, at the heart of the dispute is a documentary about Lomu's life that Stylez and a United Kingdom-based company plan to produce, a project Nadene Lomu strongly opposes. Now, she joins us in studio with her son Rayleigh. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, William, for having me.
We really appreciate it. Now, this is difficult, and I fully concede that. It's been almost 9 years since Jonah's passing. Firstly, immediate question, how are you and the boys doing?
I think if you were to really understand how the boys and I are feeling, we would probably run out of airtime. But so it was an emotional drive-in, and I told myself I would contain myself as best as I could. But for the children and I, or the boys and I, they've grown a lot now. And the magnitude of what we've been viciously amongst. We were a family, we were people that Jonah loved. There was no others that Jonah loved more than us. And so we had to learn how to relive life. We had to learn how to breathe again. Without him by our side, without our protector being there, like every step of the way. And so for the children and I knew it would be difficult once Jonah wouldn't be able to speak. I never in my wildest dreams ever thought it would be what it's been. All behind closed doors.
Yeah. And speaking behind closed doors, this is your first public interview following Jonah's death and since the court battles began. Why now?
Now because Jonah made me keep a promise. And I had a promise, and I have a promise to keep with Jonah. That he said to me, no matter how hard it gets, no matter who you come up against, promise me you'll keep fighting. And I made that promise, not expecting it would be this hard. But I feel I have a duty to Jonah to protect what he wanted me to, and to protect our children. But also as a Pacific Island girl, I feel I owe a duty to our people, to share with them the brutality of what we are facing, and we shouldn't be facing this. So I do feel a responsibility to our people that if, by example, because I know it's an uncomfortable discussion, and especially for our Pacific Island people, I know that if I am able to share our journey and the truth of what really rests, not speculation, not perception, and not untold stories or things that have been circulating, or how I've been intentionally, the perception has been painted around me. And I know that Pacific Islanders face this all the time. I know that we are an identity that are taken advantage of all the time. And it's having that voice, and it's having that platform. And I have that. So it's important that I use that in the right way. So when you say why now, I think there's no better time than now.
You know, talking of the brutality of all of this, this has been spilling out publicly as well. And I point to the media coverage of this and the relentless media coverage on you and your family, painting you in this negative light. That must have an extraordinary toll.
It has taken a toll, and I've spent years, many years, 6 years or so, to try and focus on my mental health, to get myself to a point where I knew I would be strong enough for something like today. And I think people forget, I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm really not asking, and I don't expect people to feel sorry for me. I don't. That's not why I'm doing this. But I really do believe that the truth needs to be told. And if I'm not going to do it, then who is going to do it? Who is going to defend my children? Their dad can't. What kind of a person would I be if I'm not prepared to stand up and help our Pacific Island people from advantages that are being taken from them all the time? Like, when is it going to stop? And I don't think it will, to be honest. I really don't think it will. Because the structures that are in place are set up against us. And if we don't know how to deal with it, and we have no comprehension, or we don't have the right support around us, we don't have the financial means. I don't have it. Many of us Pacific Islanders don't. We live our lives through our children. We give them everything we have. We would have no hope in a judicial system. While they say that, the system is there, everyone is entitled to fairness and justice, well, that's what they claim. But that's not the case at all here. So I'm just bringing the truth to the forefront of what's happening to us and what I do not want to happen to other Pacific Island families who put their trust in legal professionals where it leaves opportunity to be taken where that is not what a deceased person would want of their loved ones left behind. That is the last thing that they would want, and that is what's happening to us.
And before we drill into the finer details of this and talk about the court rulings, etc., I think on one side of things, the toll it's had on you, but the toll on your sons too. Could we highlight that perhaps?
Yeah, it's... as much as my heart has been broken, it breaks my heart to see what the boys have had to go through. And they've literally seen me going from crying in wardrobes to hide my pain, to help them think that things are going to be okay without their daddy, to I now cry in front of them, and the hurt that they are facing through it all. They're angry. They're hurt that this is what is being done to... All they saw was love. Their mum, who their dad loved and adored. He lived for that. He said it in his book. He said it in in many articles that he's spoken to, how much he adored us. So it's... Life is unfair. Life has been cruel. And I really don't think it could have been any crueler for us. And for the children, or for the boys now, because they're now towering over me, but I know as Pacific Island people that this is the last thing that any family would want to see their siblings, their children, aunties and uncles, anyone to go through. And all I've tried to do while being thrown to the wolves the entire time is protect my children. And that's what any decent parent would do. Anyone that has children, that is a decent human thing to do. And so the boys have had to live a life where, do we open these curtains today? Do we see who's at the gates intercom hiding with a camera? Do we worry because somebody's going to misconstrue mum's words? There's people that are taking advantage of Jonah, yet I'm the bad one here. I'm the one that's about the money. So I've had enough. I've actually had enough, and I know that Jonah would not have been as gracious as what I have been through all of this. He would have come out roaring. He would have destroyed, like he did in 95, but he would have literally destroyed any individual, any company or entity that has done what they have done to exploit him and treat the children and I the way that they have. Jonah would have made a fool out of them.
And let's go there with this legal tug-of-war you've been in over the rights to his name. There's been a heck of a lot of speculation on all of this. Could you just clarify for us what on earth has gone on and ultimately what it means for you and your boys?
Sure. To put things into context, and this is where context is conveniently missing, the license agreement. Jonah had an original 1997 license agreement that he gave permission to his company Stylez to use his imagery in everything that he owned. What I understand now to what I understood then is quite different. So in my heavily grieving state, which is a letter that you've seen, I was forced, and I stand by what I say, I was put under duress. An undue influence was taken upon me. Through legal power, and yes, I did have legal representation, because that's what they keep saying, and yes, I did, I don't deny that. But what you're saying here is I was forced to sign a document, to put my signature on that document, that if I didn't do that, Jonah's will was not going to be administered, which means I am the sole residuary beneficiary of Jonah's will. If I didn't put my signature on that paper, I was not going to inherit, or the wishes of Jonah's will were not going to be administered. That is, the shares in his company, Stylez, and Class 25. The other classes I actually protected over the years, but Class 25 specifically is what we're talking about, and now Class 41, which is production. So I was put under that. I was put under that pressure when I could barely breathe myself. I have ambulance records to show my parents were worried that I was next. And this is a ruling that was used against me. My own signature was used against me to overturn my trademark, all because you can't forget the fact that I'm the residuary beneficiary, right? So my signature was used here. It was taken, he used it against me, Nadene. This is Nadene here. It's nonsensical what's happening here. My own signature was used against me to overturn my trademark. This is the legal privilege, and this is how we've been treated behind the scenes. So again, when you say why now, I don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars to fight this in a judicial system. I don't have the money to appeal a court ruling, which shouldn't have been ruled that way, because when you look at the crux of how my signature went there, the conditions of how I was put under duress, and at that time of when my signature had to go there. But there is a clause, or there is a term and condition, to keep it simple, there is a condition in there that it says those transfers were to happen once the estate was completed. I had confirmation that the estate was completed for all intents and purposes, those are the exact words, and that it would be administered to me, therefore transferred to Nadene Lomu. That was 2018.
Far out.
And it's been a battle ever since. Like I say, this is because I don't have the money to fight this. This is what us Pacific Island people are up against. There's nothing fair about a judicial system that we sit amongst. Is that what Aotearoa wants to be proud of? Because I've had people contact me from overseas saying it seems like New Zealand like to cover this stuff up. I've had others contacting me. The same executor of Jonah's estate is doing the exact same thing. I've seen reconciliation statements where money is being bled out of her mum's deceased estate. She is the beneficiary also. The difference is she has money to fight it. I don't. So when you ask me am I going to appeal, or was I going to appeal? Why should I appeal? Why should I put more money where I put money to take it that far? Why should I take more money that my children need? We need to keep a roof over our head. They eat a lot. They're training to be the best they can. They're trying to chase their dreams. Why should I appeal something that I don't have, that Jonah didn't set it up for me to appeal? All I'm trying to do here is fight for the wishes and respect of what Jonah wanted done here. Yet I'm being crucified.
Mm.
I'm being taken advantage of. My legal entitlement and my rights are being taken from me. They are being stripped from us to where legal privilege allows this to happen. It's not okay.
Mm.
So it's important for me to share this with the cold, hard brutality of what rests in this, so that our Pacific Island people are a little cautious about who they trust on the day that they are no longer here for their loved ones.
Jeepers. Okay. And so if we just talk about the documentary for a moment.
Sure.
Now, the documentary has been given the green light despite your efforts to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, why did you want to stop it?
It's not that I never wanted something to be done on Jonah. By all means, he deserves it. You know, Jonah was just, and I don't say it just because I married the guy, but I've met a lot of people all around the world, and Jonah was just he was just so humble. He never spoke to his own glory. And I think for Jonah, something to be made deserving of Jonah, it needs to be done the right way. And when people claim to want to pay tribute or respect Jonah, but you can't respect his wishes and you can't respect me and the children, well, who's about the money now? Because you take that away, you take all of that funding away. Do they still want to help the children and I do something like that? Because we want to. It needs to be done. But when you don't have the key people, like you don't have the likes of Sir Michael Jones, who fully supports what we do, Eric Rush, his deputy principal, you know, like the key people who were there throughout Jonah's life before we became a family, so I'm not trying to take those positions away from anybody, all of those key people aren't even part of this. They don't even support what's got the green light right now. They've all said, if you're not in support of this, we don't support it.
Oh, that's crazy. It shouldn't even be going ahead then if that's the case.
Well, it opens up question for the Film Commission, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they're dealing with taxpayers' money and they say, oh, we've got the permission, but it's like, it's almost like a moral compass doesn't even exist in this world anymore. You know, what does aroha mean to anybody? You know, and we sit in Aotearoa, you know, the land of the long white cloud and the love that surrounds this country. But right now it doesn't seem like that exists. You know, and so for the Film Commission to green light something, and even for them to, you know, they made comments, I saw them.
Yep.
And they you know, they said, oh, well, you know, yes, it halted things, but we knew. It's like, well, no, you don't know. You don't know, because how I have been treated is all a perception. It's a perception that has been painted of me. So various individuals, various entities, powerful individuals, as I've said, can take advantage of us, can take advantage of Jonah. This is commercial. There is nothing charitable about this. If it was charitable, every single cent would go to our children.
Yep.
So stop painting me like the money-grubbing person, or she's only stopping it because she ain't getting the money. No, that's not the case at all. Nobody is there. Nobody cares to protect Jonah the way that we do. His children, their children, you know, the generations to come. This is what you're talking about. I'm not asking for things that aren't true to be said. I'm just saying, if you're going to do it right. That's all here. Seems like they don't care about that.
And with that in mind, should you and the boys have a role to play in its production? Have they reached out?
They have reached out, and the reason why I stepped away from it was because I didn't like the direction that it was taking. And, you know, everything that I have done with and without Jonah, I have done knowing wholeheartedly that he would be 150% behind me. And as it stands with the production, there are things there, to my understanding, that I know Jonah wouldn't be happy with. There are people that they're looking to include that Jonah would not stand by and let happen. So I'm not about to do that now, you know? No matter what kickback I get, you know, I just think it's wrong, you know, and actually to touch on that court hearing with the production of Class 41, because that's production, is it was the executor of the estate and the production company. That's the reason why. That's the reason why I went up against this. Those very people tried to overturn that. And might I add, like, to help, because I didn't understand this before, and I didn't understand it when Jonah passed away. When someone passes away, you have a will, and this is really important. You have a will, but who you leave in charge of that will is crucial. And I say that to everybody, crucial, because you cannot take the word of what somebody tells the living now. You cannot. We are a prime example of that, where trust was put into that. And so an executor steps in a temporary capacity. They are there for a legal obligation, a legal duty, and they are the ones that step in to administer the wishes of the deceased person. It is not at their discretion. It is what must be done. That is where this has failed. It should have been done. The estate should have been wound up. Those transfers should have happened, and it should have been done to me in 2018. How can you say that the will is complete, all intents and purposes completed, yet you haven't done that? Through benefit in one way or another, right?
Yeah.
And if it's not a financial benefit, then it's to say, it's an ego boost. It's to be the ones to say, oh, I'm the one that's in charge of Jonah Lomu's, you know, this, or I'm the one that's saving his sons. No, all they've got to be proud of is that an achievement that they almost achieved is that I no longer existed. I'm the problem here. I'm the one that's standing up for our family. If I wasn't here, they could do what they want. There's no other voice that they're up against. That is why I've been painted how I've been painted. To be painted as incompetent, to be painted as not able to do anything, to be painted, oh, I'm about the money. That's why the perception rests out there of me on that.
Yeah.
Yet, I am not that. I was a successful person before Jonah and I ended up together. I had a property portfolio. I had a lineup of sports cars. Our common interest was music and fast cars. You know, so when Jonah and I ended up together, and I have never said this before because I've always tried my best to protect Jonah, but the children know this, is for people that have been married and divorced, separated, that costs money. And when Jonah separated from his second wife, or divorced his second wife, he walked away from 50% of his relationship property entitlement. He walked with nothing but the backpack on his bag and the car he drove with. So to paint me that I'm the one that took all his glorious money, no, actually, he came to me. And I didn't, it was never about the money, because I knew there wasn't money there. So I hope that clears it up, because people keep saying that she took his money. It's like, no, I didn't. I didn't take it. There was no money to take. The same lawyer who, when I was a young girl and I bought my first property, I had a lawyer that helped me. We put that property in trust. It's still in trust. Jonah did the same thing. He had a lawyer that he trusted to do right by him. Jonah never had a property in trust. He never, even when he walked away from his second marriage, he should have had 50% of his entitlement that went into a trust. Before that, he should have had more in a trust. Even if he had a little property in trust through the years as he went from a boy to a man. That same lawyer is the one that has done this to us. So, you know, like that, and him and his legal privilege people, they have been the ones that have tried to silence other people. And doing it through a money process. I don't have money, but I'm not about to be silenced either when I've been painted to take Jonah's money. And there was nothing there to take.
And finally, before we wrap it up, you've already said you're not going to appeal the court decision, or you don't want to. Why should you? Fair enough. From the outside looking in, of course. This is. Look, I'm going to take my journalism hat off. This is a bizarre story, and the fact that we're even at this point, it's actually really sad. Really sad. So what is next for you? If, you can't take the legal battle, what is left for you and your boys, ultimately?
I'm not walking away. Like, I'm not. And I have said, like people have said to me, if you keep going, it's taken too much of an emotional toll on me. And you just don't know what's going to happen to me because of the toll that it's taking. But I have a duty to Jonah. I have a duty to our sons to see this through. And I will only stop once Jonah's wishes are administered to where they should rest. I will only stop at that point through the goodness of lawyers' hearts that I have had help me along the way, and our family lawyer, Mr. Andrew Henderson, by all means, that they've been saviours to me. They have been my angels, our angels, our family angels. And so while I won't, not today anyway, hopefully I'll get help on a litigation lawyer, because really what now needs to happen, because he's choosing not to step aside, he's choosing and refusing to administer my rightful entitlement, my legal entitlement, but my moral entitlement. So when you say for the boys, and I need to keep protecting them too, right? Parents wouldn't stop protecting their children. Their names are Brayley and Nadene Lomu. That name is their entitlement. So can't everyone just back away and go live their own lives and sell their own stories and sell their own dreams?
That's right.
Just leave ours alone. That's all I want. We want to honour Jonah's legacy positively. We want to carry it forward how we want to carry it forward, through merchandising, through respected memories and partnerships. And I'm going to keep going with that. I'm not going to park that at all by any means. And it's my legal privilege and entitlement to be able to do that as the residuary beneficiary of Jonah's will. So I think that the next steps, because he's again, because I'm not a lawyer, I will continue to seek help and find that help, that somebody can help take it to that next step where the executor is removed. Because if you look at any legal website and you look this up, and I encourage families to do this, look up what an executor does. What their role is to administer the wishes. In a temporary capacity, they step into that role to administer the wishes of the deceased. They step out. That is what an executor is supposed to do. And I encourage all of our people, like I plead with all of our people, to really wise up to this. Because if they don't, they are going to potentially, especially our athletes, our people who are being taken advantage of, if they don't really look into this, the same thing is going to keep happening, because it can. So no, I'm the fight's not over. I know without a doubt after this I'll go in the car and have a cry, and it's what I do. I cry and then I get back up and I keep going. But I have to. It's what Jonah did. He literally kept getting up until he could no longer get back up. And that's it. That's it for us, is just to help the children to realise, you must never be afraid to speak out for what is right.
Nadene Lomu, thank you so much for your time this morning. We really appreciate you coming in and clearing the air and giving us the opportunity to hear from you and your side of the story, something that's been abundantly missing from media coverage. And all the best to you and your sons. And, dare I say, my journalism hats off, you fight like hell.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
You're listening to